In this episode, things come down to the wire as we find out whether or not Subaru will be able to save Beatrice. Hey, my name is Rex, and it's time for ReZero yet again. This just honestly such an amazing show, such an amazing series. This episode just really, just really hit me, and I guess we'll discuss that a little more as we get into it. But things pick up with Emilia stepping outside of the grave after finishing the third trial, and she's met with Snow, and we find out a little bit more about or at least, the timing between these events where she steps outside and what happened with Ram, Roswaal, and Puck. And it was a huge cliffhanger last episode, and now we're seeing that Ram is very, very hurt, dead, something. We don't find out immediately. We do find out later, okay, it seems like she's alive. But Roswaal, it seems like, this was the final push that Roswaal needed to be pushed to hurting somebody that he did care about, and someone who cared about him. That, and especially after he's lost his book, his gospel now, so now he's got nothing else to hold on to. And we kind of see that as he's kind of processing all of this. He's like, now what do I do? And he's freaking out, and not just asking out whoever or whatever, because he has no book to consult, and on top of that, the book was his only connection to Echidna, to his the person he loved and the person who taught him everything, and had apparently left all of this information for him to follow. So he's just completely lost, and on one hand I'm kind of like, yes, suffer, because I didn't really like him this whole season, but on one hand, now kind of finally seeing him reaching this breaking point and reaching this point where he realizes, what do I do now? And kind of sort of start to realize, what have I done? Maybe not as much of that, but more so, he's just lost, and it's just really shown really well as he's trying his best to help Ram to save Ram, but I guess now Ram is out of the picture too for a while, as well as Rem, until we can solve that. You realize like next week is the last episode of the season. Rem is completely out of it, basically the whole season. But I just thought this was well done. Emilia does eventually show up after she meets up with all the Ryuzu clones, and after they end their thing with the original Ryuzu being in the crystal, and one of the head ones basically joining with her, ending it, and the crystal's gone, so the barrier's gone as well. Sanctuary's basically freed, all of that, but there's still a bunch of other Ryuzu clones running around, and they all join Emilia to catch up with Roswaal, as Emilia is trying to convince Roswaal to get up, let's go, it's snowing, we got to get out of here, we got to get moving. But Roswaal, of course, is like way too broken. But I really like this moment as well, because we get to see Emilia kind of act not different, but you see how much she's grown. How, in a way, it's almost like she's kind of speaking like, I guess, Subaru might have spoken to somebody. Hey, you can't give up. You can't say that things don't matter. As Roswaal's like, what does it matter now? Nothing matters now. And I just like that now we're getting to see her kind of pour into someone else, or take everything she's learned, especially, everything she's learned from the trial, the past, the present, and the future she saw in the trial, after overcoming that, and still deciding to want to be out in the real world, make a difference, and deciding that things still matter. And so they're able to get Roswaal and Ram out of there. But I think that was just a great moment, especially for Emilia, after everything we've seen her go through this entire season, seeing all of that kind of come out and about into, wanting to help Roswaal and Ram. And as we find out, Ram is apparently still alive, though knocked out. How long she'll be knocked out, we'll have to see. But now we also catch up with everyone else at the mansion, and oh boy, things are coming down. Everyone else escapes just fine. Frederica, Garfield, Otto, Sleepy Rem, and Petra as well. So they're all safe. But Subaru's still inside trying to get back to Beatrice, because obviously if the mansion burns down, her hidden library is going to burn down. And just seeing him go through like every single door, exhausting just about every option, even getting there, being pushed back out yet again, and then coming back to her. Just seeing his determination. But we also get some backstory behind Beatrice, as well as, you know, we had kind of understood just how lonely she was and just how isolated from everyone and everything she was, but we kind of see that even especially more so now, as we get to see the very moment when Echidna had basically left her. I told her, hey, you know, stay here, you know, for me, and I'll here's a plan, you know, stay here, wait for that person, and then, which is how we found out how, well, that's what she was waiting for, is that person. Very vague, but it's apparently someone that Echidna had said would be worthy to inherit all of her knowledge, but for now, Beatrice would be watching over it. And we also see Roswaal there as well, and figure out, and apparently, you know, it's not a detail that I thought too much about. I think I paid it some attention, but apparently he's been living this long because he's constantly transferring his soul into a new body, basically. His whole bloodline, I suppose, as he shows up as younger and younger people. But I think, you know, a big interesting thing is that Beatrice even says that even though Roswaal showed up to the library to find out all this knowledge, to find out as much as he could, you know, apparently to, you know, accomplish his goals, he still didn't talk a lot to Beatrice, you know, kind of even driving in just how lonely she was, how she isolated herself there, stayed there, because that's what Echidna had told her to do. That's what, you know, her mother had basically told her to do. And that's a promise she had been clinging to for so long, but yet was alone for all those years, for 400 years. And, you know, you really feel even more for her now, and especially with Subaru showing up. You know, realistically, she was one of, you know, the first people that Subaru started meeting and hanging out with her, you know, everyone else in the mansion, but just kind of the connection that he had with her, and they started to build as things went on. And now, of course, you know, it makes sense for him to really want to save her, even though, you know, he had kind of rejected the idea of, like, him being the one, or that person that she was supposedly waiting for. And it's, you know, it's a nice moment, even again, being kicked out multiple times until there's only one door left, basically. Even burns his hand getting there, and the whole place is on fire. And unfortunately, it's seeming like this mansion isn't gonna last. That was one of my concerns. I mentioned in the last episode that, like, oh no, the mansion is probably not gonna be standing. But this final moment between them during this episode, where there does seem to be a lot of back and forth, where Subaru's trying to convince her to come with him, and not just that, but saying that, asking her to help him, in that, you know, he wouldn't necessarily be there to help her, because realistically, what can he do? You know, he from his point of view, and probably a bunch of point of people's view, he's not that person, and he couldn't possibly be whatever that person was in Beatrice's mind, and for 400 years, whatever that could have meant. But he asks her to help him because, you know, and in a way, it almost seems like it's Subaru's kind of like trademark, not necessarily selfish, but kind of in a way showing other people how important they are to him, at least. And sometimes that's what some people need to hear, and especially for Beatrice, just how just oh gosh. And it was like, you know, a big intense moment. And I'll admit right here, I was not having the best day today. So just this entire moment just had me tearing up, and its final resolution just had me bawling, as, you know, even Beatrice is just crying, trying to process all this, and not accepting, you know, not really accepting what Subaru is offering at first, by saying, you know, you rejected this idea of what I had, you know, you rejected being that person. And I think this final moment where Subaru asks her, choose me, it's a moment of, you know, whatever that person was supposed to be, they weren't necessarily going to be coming in and announcing themselves as, yes, I am that person. It's up to Beatrice to decide that for herself, to be the one to choose somebody else to help her, and someone for her to help, also how Subaru puts it. And oh, it's just honestly such a good and beautiful moment. And again, you know, the visuals in this are just, again, everything's all on fire, so it's intense. But, my gosh, like I said, I did have to take a lot of extra time after watching the episode, processing everything, and then, you know, recording everything, more than usual, recording this review, because, like I said, I was just destroyed from this moment. But I really, was just so good. It was just so good. But eventually they do come together and they escape. Finally, thankfully. So now I guess Subaru's got the spirit with him. But one interesting thing is, you know, they teleport past everybody watching and then end up in the sanctuary, this final moment, to help against the rabbits. Because the rabbits show up, which we all hate. Everyone hates those rabbits. But now it's seeming like, okay, we've resolved just about everything. Everything at the mansion is done. In fact, the mansion's not even there. Beatrice is saved, which I think was even more important, even though, you know, like, say, last core of the second season, it seemed like Subaru had kind of gotten closer. It seemed like the way that he had gone about it was possibly that way, but honestly, how he did things now just worked out so much better, because now, at least, she's escaped of her own volition, or she's done something, gotten up out of her own volition. And I think one, you know, the line that got me was at the very end, where Subaru kind of said to her, you know, you were waiting for someone to show up. That's why you're always waiting by the door. And when you think about it, that's true, because whenever he showed up, she was right by the door waiting right there. It was good. It was good. But now it's seeming like we're gearing up for the last episode, which will be there. They'll finally solve this last thing, the last little thing. Okay, sure. Trials are done. Barrier's done. Roswell's kind of taken care of. The whole mansion's taken care of. The only thing that's left is the rabbits, which is going to be... Oh, I want those things to die. Those are annoying, but that was the episode for this weekend. Like I said, just so amazing, so beautiful. If you enjoyed the video, let me know what you think in the comments below. And I messed that up, but let me know what you think in the comments below about this episode. Reminder, I've also got a Twitter. I'm going to really try to use that a little more, especially when talking about anime, because normally I use it for Pokemon, you know, with the Pokemon channel, but I really, honestly, I've been enjoying all this anime so much more in a sense, or at least this time while we're waiting for another game. But you can follow me there, because I'll hopefully try and say some anime things as well. But if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like and subscribe to show your support. You can enable notifications by clicking that bell icon next to the subscribe button. It'll make sure you see each new video as it comes out. Anyway, my name is Rex. This has been Rex. Have a nice day.